In the year 2001, ex-President George H.W. Bush created the CEO Roundtable on Cancer and tasked its members to work together to accomplish what no single organization had done alone in the war on cancer. Project Datasphere is an initiative launched by that group, and its goal is to expedite the pace of cancer research. Joining us now for more on the group's efforts via Skype in Cary, North Carolina, there's Kald Abdallah. He is the Chief Officer of Project Datasphere LLC, an independent, not-for-profit initiative of the CEO Roundtable on Cancer's Life Sciences Consortium. And Mr. Abdallah, it's good of you to join us on the line from North Carolina. I want to just start by having you relax for a second. We're going to show a little clip from a video that's on your website and get people up to speed on what this is all about. Roll tape, please.
We've been hard at work researching cancer for many years. We work in our separate teams, running all kinds of tests, mining the data for all it's worth, and we've made a lot of progress. But the fact is, we're not getting there fast enough. There are still too many people dying from cancer, and these people, the ones that give of themselves in all aspects of finding treatments, the ones that struggle with this disease each and every day, they need you to do something different. For well over 40 years, researching separately hasn't worked well enough. What would it look like for us to join efforts, to learn and benefit from our collective experiences? That's the Project Datasphere initiative.
Okay, whose idea was it not to keep everybody in separate silos and compete, but rather to pool resources and do a kind of an open science experiment?
I think it was a group idea. This was initiated from a discussion from the Life Science Consortium several years ago, and the idea of data sharing was growing at that time.
And how much has your organization grown since it was launched?
So we launched in April 2014, and we launched with 9 data sets from 7 different organizations. And since then, we were able to more than triple the volume of data that we have. Also, the access to the data. Since we launched, we provided access to more than 280 different researchers that applied for access through the website.
And when you talk about 9 data sets, what's a data set?
So every time you do a clinical trial, you develop a data set, a volume of data from that particular clinical trial. And what Datasphere is aiming to do is to build a very large volume of data sets from many different clinical trials that were performed in the past, and the data is not shared. So that's the goal. We want to share the data from clinical trials in cancer, from phase 3 clinical trials, which are very large clinical trials that involves hundreds, sometimes thousands of patients.
Did you have any technical challenges getting it off the ground?
There are basically 3 challenges you have to overcome. One is the legal barrier and the concern to make sure that the data is appropriately de-identified so you don't have any risks of privacy with the patients. The second is to make sure that you have a well-structured legal framework by which the data provider can provide the data to Project Datasphere. And the third was to build a technological platform where the data could be shared, uploaded, and also downloaded for use of researchers.
You mentioned researchers can have access to this. Which researchers? Who gets access to this information?
You have to apply for access and demonstrate that you have a valid email, and you briefly describe what your intention in terms of research. The application is quite simple, and anyone with a medical background, even a medical student, potentially could apply for access, and the access is usually granted in a matter of a week.
And what is the advantage of having students partake?
The advantage of having not only students, but researchers with different background is that we are providing them the chance to see data that usually they have no access. And also we are exposing that data to experts with different background. And the diversity brings a lot of insights and innovation. So from the experience we have since the launch, we are seeing that different backgrounds in training provides perspective that we didn't think about from a perspective of a cancer researcher. So, for example, I saw a very interesting research done with mathematical modeling of the data. And this is the type of research that is unusual or not usually done by a clinical scientist like myself.
Are you taking other steps or making further efforts to get other organizations to join as well?
Oh, yes. We are actively reaching out to any potential data provider. We are in contact with pharmaceutical companies, biotechnological companies, and also the government and the NCI funded. So we are exploring any potential data provider to share data with us in order to accelerate innovation in cancer.
And Mr. Abdallah, how did you personally get involved in this effort?
I am a physician doing research on cancer and drug development in cancer for more than for 15 years now. And I was working in a pharmaceutical company that began to work in this project in collaboration with many other pharmaceutical companies and also the IT company that is supporting from an IT perspective with the SAS Institute. And I joined this nonprofit organization last year in August to work full-time. But I was working on this project for 2 years already when I joined. So this is an effort that is collaborative from many organizations, including Sanofi, Celgene, Pfizer, Bayer, Johnson & Johnson, Memorial Sloan Kettering, and AstraZeneca.
Gotcha. I should apologize at this point. I've been calling you Mr. Abdallah the whole time. It really should be Dr. Abdallah, so let me get that right as we go forward. All of the companies that you just mentioned, I think, all have big, obviously big presences in the United States. Are there plans to sort of broaden this to include other companies from other countries around the world?
We are in contact with many organizations that are working in oncology. So pharmaceutical companies and any other organization that has data on clinical trials in cancer, we are trying to reach out and connect with them and pledge with them to really share data with us and enable us to share that data more broadly.
Okay. Whenever, and you touched on this earlier, but I think we should spend a little bit more time on it right now, issues around privacy always come up when you talk about open science or crowdsourcing or that type of thing. And I just want to read a short excerpt from an article that Seth Mnookin did in the New Yorker magazine. This was back in June of last year, in which he writes, Isaac Kohane, a pediatric endocrinologist at Boston Children's Hospital, said that many researchers believe incorrectly that patient privacy laws prohibit sharing useful information. Quote, if you want to be charitable, you can say there's just a lack of awareness about what kind of sharing is permissible, Kohane said. If you want to be uncharitable, you can say that researchers use that concern about privacy as a shield by which they can actually hide their more selfish motivations. Talk about that a bit, if you would. Where's the balance between privacy, between the need to make progress, and this other element here, more selfish motivations?
I think privacy is an important concern. For example, depending on the disease you are talking in the privacy concerns may vary. Also, if you are talking about a genetic disease, you may have a higher concern around privacy because that also may impact their families, not only the patient. If you discuss this in different types of data and also in different diseases, for example, I would argue that maybe psychiatric disease may have a higher concern on privacy and other types of disease depending on how the patients see that disease. And I think that we need to really, I don't think there is one size fits all. I think it needs to be assessed carefully, but privacy is a real concern that needs to be respected. But I think privacy shouldn't prevent innovation, especially in a serious disease like cancer.
Okay, but I was talking in some respects about a three-legged stool. Privacy, to be sure, the need to innovate, to be sure, but the third leg of that stool was the notion that there might be selfish motivations by companies which are in quite intense competition with each other to be the first to make those innovations. And I wonder whether you're seeing any evidence that anybody's holding back what they know because, while this is a collaborative effort, they are still out there competing with each other. What do you think?
I think the competition is real. There is a model of working in terms of developing that competition was part of it for many years. But I think considering how fast the complexity of science is growing, more and more researchers are realizing that it is important to collaborate. And it's amazing how fast we were able to actually bring together many different organizations that usually compete with each other. And now we are all working very collaboratively on that effort. So I think you need to understand that the environment is getting to a level of complexity that without collaboration and without fast innovation, it's really hard to make advances.
Okay, let me ask you about another crowdsourcing initiative that you're involved with called the Prostate Cancer Dream Challenge. What is that?
So what we are doing is we are working with the DREAM project and Prostate Cancer Foundation with SAGE Bionetworks, several organizations actually, and several universities. And we are working collaboratively to combine several data sets. We actually already finished the combination of those data sets. And our plans is to launch that challenge in February. And what we're seeking is that we're going to expose a data set and ask a particular question to a crowd. Anyone who wants to apply to that challenge may try to respond that particular question. And the best responses are going to win that particular challenge. And the questions are, how can we predict certain outcomes in prostate cancer?
I don't know if this question is even answerable, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. Presumably at the end of the day, whenever that is, you're looking for a cure for prostate cancer, or perhaps a way not to get it in the first place. Any idea how many years down the road we're talking?
Cancer is a very complex disease, and I think the answer for your question is applicable to a particular stage of cancer and a particular type of cancer. So maybe we will see cure for early stages and more. We will also see longer survival depending on the stage. And also we are working hard not only to improve survival and make it longer, but also to improve the quality of life during that time of survival. So I don't think curing cancer is a switch that you say, I achieved and it is done. It's really a process, a progress that goes slowly, piece by piece, step by step. And I think we are seeing a significant improvement in cancer care on a year-by-year basis. You see the advances. But we need to remember that cancer is not one disease, it's more than 300 different types of diseases, and it is a complex disease because it changes with time, even in one single patient.
Indeed. What concrete results, if any, can you say that you have found so far through the course of pooling all of your research?
We are seeing several publications already on the pipe. We are seeing full papers, abstracts to Congress, different types of modeling of the data that is still unpublished, so I can't comment further. But we are seeing a significant output of research being done on the data, and we are very excited about the challenge as well. So I think the output is really impressive. Over just 6 months, we have more than 280 researchers registered using the data, downloaded the data, studying the data in many different ways, and several publications coming. So this is really exciting.
Okay, glad you're excited. Do you know how many years going forward you intend to keep this project together?
Oh, our intention is to keep it growing, and also to allow the website to connect different researchers with each other so they can form communities that are trying to answer specific questions. So it's not only about sharing the data, but also enabling them to connect with each other to form a network of collaboration through the platform. So that's what we're working for.
In our last couple of minutes here, I want to ask you about something that I know when I was a kid, we used to see ads on television with the tagline, "Cancer can be beaten." And I'm not sure we ever really believed that. And I know when you look around nowadays, there seem to be, it seems everybody knows somebody who's dealing with or fighting cancer, or it just seems far too omnipresent in our society today. Do you really believe that cancer can be beaten?
I dedicated my career to do that, so I do, yes.
You do. Do you think it will happen in your lifetime? As you've pointed out, cancer is not a single thing, it's 300 things.
Yes, but many tumor types that were very aggressive in the past, they are being treated the prognostic today is a lot better. Things that are continuously improving in many fronts, in how we take care of the patients, how we understand the disease, how we design the clinical trials, what are the best endpoints to measure success. So I think there are strides and improvements in many fronts, but this is a very large war. The war against cancer is not a simple one, and we need to make improvements continuously. And the volume of data we have today needs to be managed in a better way that we are managing in the past. The volume is just tremendous, and we need to transform that data into knowledge, and that is the challenge that we have at front of us.
Dr. Abdallah, we wish you well in your efforts. Thanks so much for spending so much time with us on TVO tonight.
Thank you.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.